Oh, I'm so excited. The fourth and final season of the Apple TV original series Servant is now here. We've watched a massive transition of Leanne just over the show, and now the whole story is reaching its climax. Now, I've seen the first three episodes, so is this something that's going to stick the landing? So this season starts off with a very twisted and intense bang. There's not a ton of dialogue, and the episode is rather short at just 25 minutes. But good gravy, the amount of tension and unease that's established in that quick time, it's really crazy. When season 3 concluded, Dorothy had taken that header off the stairs, and then season 4 finds the family preparing for her to return home. Sean and Julian are with Dorothy as she's making the trip back to recover, while Leanne then gets things ready at the house. Now, this episode focuses almost solely on Leanne, and the imagery is both bizarre and dreamlike. There's a sense that what we watch isn't necessarily real, but it is. I mean, it could all look like a figment of Leanne's imagination, triggered by guilt or paranoia. And I love that this series has made Leanne a totally reliable, unreliable narrator. I mean, all through that first couple of seasons, she's hung on that fringe of whether or not to believe her abilities. I mean, there's Jericho and all that goes with him, so there's got to be something special about Leanne, right? But she's also extremely paranoid and then cagey, never totally revealing all that's in her past and then the true reasons that everybody's after her. I've loved the setup, and then last season really amped up the intrigue with Leanne, showing that she draws people to her, that she has all those people that are acolytes. I mean, they're rabid protectors. The chaotic sequences that season 4 begins with are really exciting to watch, and they're creepily filmed. We're placed in the position of both observer and participant through different camera angles, and these perspectives help to really envelop us in the story. There are a lot of grays and muted color tones at work, and those establish a foreboding and threatening vibe. The majority of the episode also takes place in a central location. I mean, it's not solely isolated there, but most of the suspenseful action does take place in one spot. Nell Tiger Free as Leanne, she really sells her character's anxiety and terror, causing the episode to be palpable with emotion. And I really enjoyed the dynamic of the rest of the cast with Leanne once they return home. I mean, there's a coldness that permeates everything, with most of it coming from Dorothy. And that's, I mean, come on, it's understandable. The antagonism that exists between the two is crazy to take in. And it's always been sort of a roller coaster ride emotionally, with definite highs where Leanne is treated like a daughter by Dorothy, and then other times where she's the scum of the earth, sent to the family to just agitate and torment Dorothy. I think the biggest bummer for the first episode, and this isn't unique to just this one, is that it's so short. I mean, I love the compressed timeline, but the anxiety was building and that discomfort of all the interactions were just beginning to peak when then the episode concludes. I mean, for a weekly release, this could have played out much longer with the story. Now, the next two episodes each get progressively longer, but not by much. One's about 28 minutes and the other is 33, so they're still relatively short watches. Now, episode 2 continues with the chaos, but in a completely different manner from the first episode. There's confusion, frenetic interactions, and Julian being utterly frustrated by everything that's going on. And then the whole setup for the arc is probably going to make your skin crawl. I mean, I got shivers when part of the plot was revealed. It was just wrong and nasty. Now, throughout the episodes, there's definitely a growing strain within the family. And it's always been present. It just morphs and transitions between the players. This time, though, everybody is trying to tiptoe around Dorothy and her intense anger. She's pissed from the fight between she and Leanne and that third season, so there is a complete just cold mountain that's between the two. Even when Leanne tries to ignore it and goes about attempting to care for Dorothy as she recovers. And then there's also the strain between Dorothy and Sean. And really, I mean, come on, this is nothing new for the show. I'm not sure we've ever seen them really happy or connecting as a team. There are glimpses of what they used to have, but it's been gone since the show began. The timidness of both Sean and then even Julian, I think it's fun to watch because while they may be quieter and reserved around Dorothy, with each other, they rib and fight and say what's on their minds. And so far this season, there haven't been any of the scheming types of secret conversations that happen between the guys. But something will come to a head, especially as the clash of Leanne and Dorothy plays out. Now, in the third episode, there's the introduction of a couple of new characters, and there's definitely an air of suspicion to them. I love that the show creates this, but it doesn't confirm it. The story lets us stew in uncertainty and mistrust. I mean, even though we don't have proof that there's anything amiss going on. The story sucked me into this mindset. I mean, it just led me exactly where it wanted to take me. And I follow willingly, enjoying every moment as I scratch my head and begin to try and guess what's coming. Now, there's a lot of darkness that's hinted at, and even the possibility of the supernatural, but then it could all just be a coincidence, too. And that's where the beauty of the show lies, that it's holding all of this so close to the chest. But because this is a Shyamalan show, I am a bit nervous about the ending. I mean, he doesn't always stick to landings, so my fingers are crossed that this one is going to pay off in a very satisfying way, making the entire 4 seasons worth the journey and the time investment. Now, I think this last season of Servant was off to a wonderful start. There's all the quirkiness and intrigue the other seasons have begun to set up, but now this is also amping up the dread and then creating an atmosphere that feels explosive and dangerous. The visual storytelling is captivating so far in the season, using odd and disconcerting angles to create unease that's then mixed with the menacing score full of dark threat. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and some very brutal violence. Now, if I were to rate the season so far, I'd go with a 4.5 out of 5, but I'm not going to solidify that until I've seen the rest to just make sure that the story is able to wrap up in a cohesive manner that makes sense. So, do you have a favorite character in the show? I'm a huge fan of Julian for his crankiness and snark, but let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.